What is up, everyone? It's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida, coming at you live every Wednesday at 8 p.m., going over the market stats, the news you need to know about, if you think about buying, selling, or investing here in Northeastern Florida. And we're also doing whether you're watching it live or you're watching the replay, make sure you throw them in the comments below and subscribe to the channel if you find some value in what we cover. We're here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. The biggest thing I think that this videos are for the locals here. What the heck? Test. Sorry, I guess I lost something on the live stream here. I don't know. It might have been Instagram or something. It just gave me a notification. Seemed to completely cut me off. But hopefully you guys can hear me. Seems like all my stuff is working. So I'm going to keep rolling. But I think it's most important for people that are living here locally because I'm going to cover all the news stories that I really think affect you, especially if you own a home here, and what that could potentially mean for you living in the area. And I think that's probably the biggest value of these Wednesday live streams. So I do also cover the market stats, which we'll get into here in just a second. But there's some good news stories here this week that I think it's gonna really help people put together a perspective on what's going on here, especially with all the news and the hysteria that we hear regarding Northeastern Florida and Florida as a whole in terms of condos and just the cost of living and what's going on with our market. And the internet is moving at a snail's pace right now. But either way, let's go ahead and take a look at the market stats for Northeastern Florida. Come on. This has got to be the worst. What's going on here? All right. So now this takes in consideration of all the Jacksonville metro service area. And one thing that I wanted to pull up here, as you can see, year over year we're down. We had 370 for the Jacksonville metro service area, 354 900 is what we are right now in terms of the median sale price in Northeastern Florida, essentially. So when we're talking about this area, we're talking about Baker, Bradford, Clay, Duval, Flagler, Nassau, Putnam, and St. John's all together. Obviously, I'm here in St. Augustine, so we always like to cover St. John's. But St. John's County, we're up 1%. You know, it seems that we've remained pretty strong here. And that's also in part of, and we're going to talk about this here in depth, but it's in part of the new construction that we have here in the area. The new construction builders are able to incentivize buyers a lot heavier than the average resale can. And when we're talking about that, I think one of the important things to look is where most of the new construction is. I'll pull it up here on a map. So this is St. Johns County, Florida, city of St. Augustine right down here. The majority of the new construction is really north of World Golf Village here. So that's including on the east coast of 95 and the west side of 95. But majority of it is going to be in the northwestern part of St. Johns County, which is super convenient in a way. That's carrying us pretty well, I would say, just because we are just outside of Jacksonville. So anyone that's moving to the area, looking for a new construction home, looking for a master plan community, and they still need to commute to Jacksonville, this northern part of St. Johns County offers all of that, you know. So we're talking about the best schools in St. Johns County, the newest schools, really, brand new house, brand new community, brand new amenity center, and then also all these new construction builders, they offer good incentives. So I looked at the total closings over the past 6 months, and 38% of our closings were new construction, which is, that's pretty amazing. It's almost half of our market here were new construction sales. So that goes to show you, right? It's like, well, why are they selling so much? Well, it's because they're able to buy your interest rate down. I just saw a promotion from D.R. Horton. It's for certain communities, so if you are interested in this, reach out to me. But they're running essentially a 2-1 buy down, where the first year is going to be $199, the second year is going to be $299, and then for the rest of the life of the loan, it'll be $399 for the 27 years outside of that. So that's an insane incentive, right, to get a 4% interest rate. And that makes a huge difference in your monthly payment and how much interest you're paying over the life of the loan. So, yeah, that northwestern part of the whole area is new. Everything is a master plan community up there that has new construction in it for the most part. And that also allows you to be really close to Jacksonville, close to Jax Beach, and close to downtown St. Augustine. So if you do need to work, you can go up to Jacksonville. If you do need to play, you go over to Jacksonville Beach. You're down to St. Augustine. If you need to fly out, you're like 45 minutes to the airport from there at Jax International. So it's a hot spot. It's where most of the sales are happening in St. Johns County. So make sure I have any questions here. Okay, great, guys. We're going to take a look at a news article which pretty much just says, the opposite of what I just said here, right? And it's a macro level of what these builders are looking at in terms of like how many housing starts are they going to have, and then also like how their first quarter has gone comparatively to the previous quarters. So let me pull that up here. Man, everything is just taking so long to load. Okay, here we go. All right. The Sunbelt housing market is so weak, the largest U.S. homebuilder pulls back. D.R. Horton is ramping up concessions in regional housing markets, particularly in pockets of Florida and Texas, where active inventory has climbed the most. No secret here, active inventory has climbed. We're back at pre-pandemic levels, right? Which is not something to be afraid of. But they essentially go out to outline that KB Homes, Lennar, and D.R. Horton are all saying like, hey, this year's spring selling season is slower than what we were expected. And a lot of it has to do with affordability and declining consumer confidence. So this is D.R. Horton CEO Paul Romanowski. That's what he had at one of their investors meetings. So what they're doing is they're upping the incentive, just like the one I talked about, right? Before it was like, hey, we'll give you a $499 for 30 years. Now they're like, hey, we'll do a $199, a $299, and then a $399 for the life of the loan over the course of, so the first year it's $199, second year $299, third year $399, and then it's always $399 after that. That's a fantastic interest rate. But they say despite macroeconomic factors like high mortgage rates and inflation concerns continue to weigh on buyer confidence, Romanowski pointed to rising inventory levels in the housing market as a primary challenge facing D.R. Horton this spring. So what are they going to do in response, right? So in certain markets, they're going to be slowing down their housing starts. I'm not sure if you guys can hear my baby's crying in the background. Just had a newborn about a month ago. Sounds like she is going bananas. My mother-in-law and my wife are in there handling the baby, but I don't know. Sorry if you can hear that, but they got it. But what are they going to do, right? So they're going to sell their existing inventory. They're going to offer incentives so they get it off of their books, and then they're also going to. Sorry, this baby's going bananas. Then they're also going to stop building as many houses as they have been over these past couple of years in the markets where inventory is elevated. If they still see opportunity, they're going to do that, of course. But in a way, especially with our area, like I want to say that like 33% of our market is new construction homes. So they kind of control a good bit of the inventory here in northeastern Florida and in St. Johns County especially. So they could artificially kind of control like where they're going to sell houses just by how many starts they're going to have. If they decide they're going to build a whole bunch more homes, it can increase the amount of inventory that we have just depending on how many sales they want to do. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting. What do you guys think about this? We got John here. Market seems pretty laid back, like it's in a holding pattern or something. I would say yes. I would say this, we've had several years of just like every day there's a new thing to freak out about. And I think that over the past couple weeks, we saw what happened with tariffs and what happened with the stock market. And that's just across the board, people have gotten a little worried, and 100% they should be worried, right? And a lot of people use the money that they have in the stock market to put a down payment on a house or whatever. I just had that happen to someone here, one of my clients. But it is a little bit slower. It feels like that. But when we're looking at closings and transactions, we're still on pace with what we saw last year, right? So it's not like it was back in the day when we first started looking, John. Thank God it's not, but it's not moving as quickly. I think it's just because of uncertainty and interest rates. Interest rates suck, 7% interest rate isn't sexy. We'll see what happens, though. But, John, always appreciate you. Let's go on to the next news story here, and this is a follow-up news story. We were talking about condos and some of the problems. I have a good video out on outlining what's happening with condos here in the state of Florida. But Florida House approves condo bill. Can a deal be reached with the Senate? So they essentially approved a plan that aims in part to ease financial strains on condominium owners, setting up negotiations with the Senate before next week's scheduled end of the 2025 legislative season. The House and Senate bill addresses condo safety laws passed after 2021 after the Champlain Towers South condominium building in Surfside that killed 98 people. It just fell, just collapsed within itself, killed 98 people. So they passed laws in 2022. And one of the bigger things is that they had to have milestone inspections with structural integrity reserve studies to determine how much money would be set aside for future major repairs. So in that legislation, they said, hey, condominium associations, you need to now fully fund your reserves for any of these major repairs. So think of like, okay, well, hey, they got to do something with the foundation, or they need to do something with the structure on the outside, the stucco or the siding or the roof for these large condominium buildings. They're saying you need to fully fund those reserves right now, right? Which in reality, like if you just shrink it down to like how we live, right? We live in a residential home. That's like saying like, hey, you need to have the cost of your roof, your AC, and painting the exterior of your house. You need to have that all in your pocket right now before you buy a house. Does that make good sense? And what it has done is resulted in like kind of a little bit of a scare in the condo market, because then it's a lot of these condo owners are getting slapped with like, hey, this is a huge assessment, 100 grand assessment, because we need to fund these reserves so that the state is satisfied. So it's put a lot of people like, all right, I'm just going to sell the thing and get out of it. A lot of people are strapped financially because of this. So they're trying to figure out ways to do it. Essentially what they're saying is like, hey, we can ease up on these laws, or we can allow condominium associations to go after lines of credit to be able to partially fund these reserves. So is that a good idea? I mean, credit cards are terrible. For me, right, it's 20%, right? That's what credit cards are. So I imagine you probably get a better deal as like an association, but still, it's like, I think we just need to have more common sense planning in terms of reserves, and that's got to be specific to like every building, which is much tougher than just putting out blanket general laws that are like, hey, fill your reserves right now. Forget all the people that own condos, they'll have to figure it out. And that's kind of what the state of Florida did with these new laws. So not a good situation for condo owners here in the state of Florida. We'll go on to the next news story here, guys. I've got, looks like 4 more. So any questions, pop them in the chat below. This is something I thought was pretty cool. Move NASA to Florida, where it belongs. So this is an opinion, but the time has come to move NASA headquarters from Washington, D.C. to Florida, the heart of America's space program. With its deep legacy of success and recognize the advantages of having decision makers closer to the center of America's operational space program, Florida is the logical home for NASA's headquarters. And we already got NASA already firing rockets out of here. SpaceX fires rockets out of Florida. It's pretty normal to look outside and you see a rocket and you see a stream. Pretty normal here. I think that would make a lot of sense. When I was a kid, we actually went to the NASA, was it in Cocoa Beach? Yeah, we went to the Space Coast, right? We went down there as like a field trip, and we got to like explore everything, which was very, very cool. Some people got to do like the zero gravity thing. Some people got in like that gyro ball where it turns you around. Very cool. I got to do a space climb, right? So it was like essentially moving up and down was reversed. Like you had to like pull yourself down opposed to like easily going up. It was either way. I think that'd be an interesting thing to move here to Florida. We already have the rockets and everything. I don't think they're shooting any rockets off out of DC. I feel like that would be a huge safety hazard. But sounds like we got something here. But either way, on to the next news story here, guys. What do you think about that? Think they should move it here? I don't know. So this was something that popped up in St. Augustine several months ago, and controversial art installation on San Marco roundabout. And I got to say, it's ugly, right? I don't think it fits what St. Augustine, the historic area, really is going for. It's like a modern thing. But of course, the city spent $87,000 on this concept for an artist to do it. And locals were not happy. It's overall supposed to be a $250,000 sculpture once it's said and done. But essentially, they're thinking about shelving it, which I think is a good idea. Even though we spent $87,000 on it, they're either talking about shelving it or moving it to another location. The mayor is having second thoughts. To me, it's just obvious that that's a terrible location for that because it's just driving. You can't walk around it or anything. It's literally in the middle of a roundabout. So, county governments waste money, or city, county, state, whatever, federal. They waste money like there's no tomorrow, and really for them there is none because they get it from the taxpayers. But that's one of those things where locals were upset because it's like, hey, we have so many great artists that live here locally that could have taken that space and done something with it. And they gave like the top 3 people that were in the final running. Of course, St. Augustine people applied, but none of them were from St. Augustine. This guy was from South Florida, and apparently he now lives in North Carolina. So the fact that they're going to scrap it anyway is kind of funny. It's like, man, you could put $87,000 in someone local here to do it. But also it's like, I mean, in reality, why not make it like a like a school project, like where they go and make like a mosaic mural or something like that, or just make it like a garden. And that's what a lot of the locals said. Many people, and that's on this news article here, it's not me saying it, was like, hey, that's just going to be a place for homeless to hang out. Like, and they're just going to sleep there because it's going to give them nice roof cover. And literally right across the street, there used to be a merry-go-round. And they moved it, and there's a little park there right by the public library. And many people will complain about that public park on social media and say like, hey, I don't feel safe taking my kids here. There's homeless people hanging out there. There's, what do they call them? Transient people hanging out there. So that would just add to that like little hub of where they're hanging out, that public park by the library. From what I hear, it's gotten better, but I don't think it was a good idea. I think the art was ugly. Might as well just plant some wildflowers there and call it a day. Instead of spending $250,000, especially in today's world, like, just doesn't make good sense. But they know how to waste money, St. Johns County and St. Augustine. And speaking of wasting money, this is a follow-up. So local businessman projects $130 million economic loss for county after Night of Lights is cut by 2 weeks. The Night of Lights will start earlier in November and end 2 weeks earlier in January. Now, if you aren't familiar, Night of Lights, it's one of the biggest tourist attractions for our area. Pretty much always causes gridlock traffic downtown St. Augustine. It's been like that for a long time. Has it gotten worse over the years? 100%. Has the city tried to do things like building a parking garage and all that kind of? Yes, they have. But still, traffic gets very bad. Now it's gotten to a boiling point. Whereas, like, to me, I'm a local. I know I just don't go down there for the month of December. It's just not something you do. You avoid it like the plague. And I haven't had a problem, right? But outside of that, if you live in downtown or uptown or any of like that immediate area there, if you need to get over the Lions Bridge, you live in like Davis Shores, Lighthouse Park, any of that area, and even Villano as well. Villano Bridge gets backed up the whole way a lot of times. It can become a nightmare, right? And it has been. But the city responded by taking away Night of Lights in January, which makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't see the justification for it. If the issue is traffic, the traffic is in December. It's around the holiday season when kids have off of school and families do for work and everything. They have a couple weeks off. They come down here to get out. A lot of snowbirds. They come out of the cold. They want to come down here and get some nice weather. So they cut it during January, which in my opinion is when locals go out. Like, I always go out in January because no one's there, so it's really nice. And I get to enjoy Night of Lights without the crowds and the busyness and all that kind of stuff. So this just proves my point. $130 million economic loss. I would say that's probably right when you're looking across everything in downtown St. Augustine and the surrounding area. It's silly. It's silly that they even made this decision. It seemed like it was a really snap decision. And also, it was the government the local government in my opinion, trying to gain some favor with the locals here that have already been pretty upset with them. So either way, I think they should, I'm for the proponent. Let's make Night of Lights longer, right? We make it longer. If you go from beginning of November to the end of January, well, if people are going to visit on, hey, you know what? I want to avoid the crowds too. I'll take my time off here in the beginning of November so I can come down. Perfect, right? Spread it out. don't condense it. Don't make it shorter so you can condense those people even into a shorter time span. I don't know who had this idea. It seems like it like hurts my head that they don't get it, but it is what it is, guys. Night of Lights, I think they should make it longer. You know, maybe I'll run on that for my local government here. Because in reality, January is locals month. That's when we get to go out and enjoy our city again. We get to take a breath, right, from being squeezed in with all these people. So that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe that's a terrible take. I don't know. Let's go on to the next news story here, guys. This one, Chick-fil-A gets people riled up, but Chick-fil-A proposes Bartram restaurant, more than 5,000 square foot restaurant site across from the Duval and St. Johns County line. So as you can see, Racetrack Road is coming right into here, and 9B is coming. So this road goes under here. There's no off ramp here, but it does go under here. So just to note that. I still see this. I mean, Chick-fil-A, anywhere you put it in St. Johns County, is causing traffic. Like, there's just no doubt about it. It's going to cause, especially being right off Racetrack Road there. I could see people backed up around on the Racetrack Road. Like, that happens regularly. They have one on pretty much the intersection of US 1 and 312. You'll see traffic backed up to 312 trying to get into Chick-fil-A. It's crazy. Same thing with the Chick-fil-A on 16. It's wrapped around the building, and then out into luckily they have it tucked away a little bit. So they have like an entryway that goes past Wawa. It'll be essentially to the entryway of Wawa sometimes getting into that Chick-fil-A, but causes a ton of traffic. But people love God's chicken. Chick-fil-A, I'm a big fan myself. Spicy chicken deluxe, and their cookies are amazing. But it does cause some traffic issues. They do say if they're adding a Chick-fil-A or like a Starbucks like within a mile of your house, that means your property value is going up. So people that are out there at Racetrack Road 9B, property value is probably going to go up. All right, last one, guys. Last one, and this one, it's about Jacksonville. Oh my God. Jacksonville tourism defies national trends, expects growth. So the hospitality industry, we've seen that visitation hotel revenues in Jacksonville continue to surpass our expectations. We project 2025 to align with recent years' positive trends and seasonality. This is after the surge in revenge travel, which powered record-breaking performance from mid-2021 through the end of 2023. Despite the challenge of absorbing new hotel supply and heightened competition from other markets, Duval County ended 2024 strong, meeting or exceeding industry forecasts in the fourth quarter and into early 2025. So, and that's something to note, right? Like we talk about St. Augustine, how busy it was, and the changes they're making in Night of Lights. Like, just northeastern Florida, Jacksonville is becoming its own little thing where people are vacationing in Jacksonville, Jax Beach especially. And Jax Beach is super cool. It's a great little beach town. I love it. I'm more of a St. Augustine guy myself. I grew up on St. Augustine Beach, so I'm a little biased, but I can always drive up there and come back here and go to my chill little beach town. So, guys, that is it. Tourist tax, Thomas for mayor. John, you're the man. Yeah, can you be my vice mayor? They apparently have one here in St. Augustine, which I didn't know that was a thing, but you can be my vice mayor. Yeah, so we'll see what happens here, guys. I even think the tourist tax, like if that's what you're referencing, like, hey, put heavier sales tax in downtown, right, where all these tourists go and hang out. You can even do it temporarily. I mean, I don't see what would be the problem for that. It's going to take some more accounting for sure, but like the city can make a whole bunch of money. Either way, guys, I'm here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. going over the market stats, the news you know about, everything about buying, selling, or investing here in northeastern Florida. And we're also doing a Q&A. So we didn't have any questions tonight, but we did have some comments from John, who's the man. If you have any questions, watch the replay, or if you just happen to watch it right now, leave them in the comments below. I'll answer them as soon as I can. Here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. So catch you guys next week. Have a good one. If you need anything in the real estate world, reach out to me directly. Talk soon.